What's up guys, Jeremy here with the Hockey Movement. In the first video in this series, we talked about baking your skates and how that can help alleviate foot pain, why it's important. In the second video, we talked about the insoles and how that can help alleviate foot pain if you're still feeling discomfort after you get the right fitting pair of skates. In this video, we're talking about profiling your skate blades. This is something that a lot of people don't really know the details on. The profile is the shape of your skate blade. So the blade is not flat, it's actually a circle, and you can choose how big of a circle you want basically carved into your skate blade, and that makes a big difference on performance. You can also choose if you want a forward lean or reverse lean or just basically centered. Some people this might seem a bit nitpicky. Who cares, just take him to the shop, get him sharpened. Well, that's how I was for the longest time, and I'm an adapter. I get them done and I learn how to play. But if you want to customize and have more control over how you feel in your skates, profiling is definitely the way to go. I learned how big of a difference your skate blades can have by playing with the Spark skate sharpener. If one of these edges is just a hair lower than the other edge, it totally throws off your skating stride. And that, we're talking millimeters right there. So definitely by shaping the steel, I think is gonna have a big difference on your game. But enough talk, I'm sure you guys wanna learn more about what profiling actually is and how it gets done. So I'm gonna grab the camera, we're gonna head down to the shop, and we're gonna talk to Glenn Sharpley from Sharpley Source Sports.
So Jeremy, right now what I've done is I have unlaced one of your left skates. I'm going to do an internal measurement. The system we use here for contouring is Blackstone. Blackstone developed this thing 16, 17 years ago. This exact system for contouring, they stopped producing. People wanted something a little more simple.
Right.
We're a little anal and we think it does a better job. There's a 60-40 split. You can see this is much longer than this. And when I go in there, I'm going to open this up and that's the balance point. You can see that there's obviously, just like our foot, more of our foot is more forward than back. And so this, it's all about kinetics. In layman's terms, I'm just setting up your optimum balance point and I'm going to sharpen off of that. I'm going to take two measurements on each to make sure I nailed it. But basically, this is now measuring the balance point of your foot.
Yeah.
Okay. And unless you have, something erratically wrong, anatomically with you, this works.
Right.
We've done it for a long time. We don't get complaints. There's my first measurement, my first spot, and I'll just mark that. This should now be my balance point. Okay. And I'm going to have my mark there. I'm just going to remove that, and I'm going to do the same for the second boot.
For the profile, what exactly are you?
To get a profile, somebody's going to want a 7-foot, a 9-foot, 11-foot, or a 13-foot radius. That being said, what that is if you were to continue the arc on this, a 7-foot would be a 7-foot circle, 9 would be a 9-foot circle, 11 and 13.
Okay, so the bigger the circle,
the bigger circle, the 13, there's more steel on the ice, more for a longer strider, flat, wide open speed. The 11 would be less, the 9 would be less, and the 7.
Right.
Now,
so the 7 is the most extreme, I guess, nicer for turning.
Turning, shorter strider, turn on a dime. These are the different profiles that we offer. There's your 13, obviously not a big circle, progressively moving down, 11, 9, and 7, and you can see the dramatic difference on a 7-foot radius over the 13.
This one you're getting if you want those tight turns. More
That's
agility.
tight turns, Most guys today would be using 11 or less. The days of the 13 are pretty much gone. I used a 13. I'm using an 11 now. I just, a long stride, your legs got to be really strong because they're traveling a lot further, and the groin muscle pulls. Anyway, bottom line is, I'm going to give you a 7, 9, or 11-foot radius. I can give you a forward lean or a reverse lean.
With the lean, what are you doing to the blade?
We have our spot here, and I'm just going to change slightly the lean on how I cut that 7-foot radius, whether it's, because here is my balance point. I'm going to marginally change that by a half a degree with the tool that I'm going to mount this skate into. A lot of these skates come with 10 and 11-foot radiuses from the factory, but they're just stamped steel.
Right.
And we have to eventually hand cut some of this.
Yeah, so you're shaping that steel.
Yeah, at the end. But right now we're going to do, probably through this, we're going to give you on 3 different sets of steel, we're going to go, so you can see the difference. We're going to give you 11 on one set, a 9 on the other, and a 7 on the last one. So this goes in here, and I center
You're lining up this black dot with this?
With this pin here.
With the pin,
yep.
okay.
And that's my starting point. Then I can adjust my forward and reverse lean here.
Right there. And who wants a reverse lean?
Really funny, because I can tell you the story even about myself. I skated in Langs my whole career, and finally had to give them up. And I picked up a set of Makos. I skated in the Mako too. Well, the Langs were flat, and the Mako had a forward lean, and I couldn't adjust. So I started to play games in the shop, and I finally put a reverse lean on it, and instantly I had the same stance, same stability that we all want on the ice once I put a reverse lean, because that's what I was used to.
Do you find a defenseman like more of a lean to the back and forwards like forward?
In the old days maybe,
yeah.
But defensemen today are rushing, they're moving the puck, you know, they're moving up on the play. You find them in the, you know, the high slot all the time, and they to turn and back check, they don't skate backwards, they skate forward because they're trying to catch up. So there's less and less of that now.
Right.
Everybody's doing everybody's job.
What happens if someone doesn't do this after, so they bought a brand new pair of skates and they just get a regular sharpening on them? What happens?
If you don't know what profile you want or what contour you want, we're just going to tell you, go skate for a few times and give us your feedback. What are you feeling on the ice? Do you feel like you're on your heels? Do you feel like you're on your toes? And we can adjust from that.
It's not a complete disaster if you just got them a regular sharpening right out of the box.
No, absolutely not. No. In fact, we'd like to get some feedback, because whatever you're purchasing, you're coming out of something that probably had a 7-foot radius or less, because they've been sharpened so much. I mean, you've seen guys that have literally no steel left on the toe or the heel. And so that radius compared to what you're leaving with is going, you have to get used to it. It's incredible how little steel you have to take off of your skate for it to make a fairly substantial difference. We find people come in and, you know, we'll check the level on them, and one of the issues is that they're not level, and one side of the blade will feel sharp on the ice and the other will chatter, and it's because one side of the steel is sharper than the other because they're not level. Let's get this thing started here. I'm all set up now. This guy's going to use a 9-foot, so I'm going to go over to the sharpener now. I'm going to prepare to put the jig on here, which is my template for a 9-foot. So what we have here is we got rollers and wheels, same style holder, just has those other measurements. And I'm going to grab a 9-foot bar. This is my 9-foot radius.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so my tool, my jig here, against the template, will follow this 9-foot against my stone, and that will transfer that radius to my steel.
That's how it's done. I always wondered.
That's how it's done. Yeah, this is, yeah, there's no possible way to do this in hand cut a radius. As much as somebody thinks they may be able to get close, you'd be shocked when you redo somebody's how out you would be. You can see where it's going to hit, and you can see how close my stone is here and not here. So we're basically going to start fresh with the steel, you know, give you a 9-foot. And even like a regular sharpening, Jeremy, we got to dress our cross grind stone. We talked earlier about the toes and heels being high when the steel's brand new. And then based on a 9-foot radius bar here, you can see my first contact is with the front. So until I'm making contact with the stone throughout my pass, I will continue to do this. And at that point, I'll have a 9-foot radius. You don't need to remove a lot of steel. You're already seeing that I'm making contact with the center of this. It's a factory steel. There are high spots and low spots. Obviously with contouring, we're going to get rid of all of that. As I eat through the steel, I'm making an adjustment to bring my skate more forward so that I'm making contact throughout my whole pass. That's what this little dial is doing here. Now I'm making contact pretty much about 75 or 80% of that steel now. I'm getting my 9-foot circle, my 9-foot radius. It's all coming to shape. I'm going to stop fairly shortly, and I'm going to hand cut the rest so that the toe and heel are below my 9 foot so that you don't catch your toe and heel. So I'm pretty happy with this right now. I can show you, get rid of the exhaust fan here. You can see now we end up with a high spot here and a high spot here. But this, through this whole pass, is now a 9 foot radius. I'm going to hand cut that so that it's at least as low as my 9 foot, or I will cut that so it's a little bit lower. Likewise on the toe. To do that, I have to take my template off. We don't need the specialized jig for this. I'm just going to make sure that I hit my toe and I'm lower than my 9. So cross grinding does roll the edge, and I'm just going to remove that rolled edge before we put a before we sharpen it and give you the final edge. Okay.
That should give you guys a pretty good idea of what profiling can do to affect your performance. And now that you understand it, you know what to ask for when you head to the shop. But how much of a difference does it really make? Well, I plan to find out because Bauer sent me 4 sets of blades, and the skates have this easy trigger system. So I just pull right there, the blade's going to pop out, and I can pop in a different one. Glenn at the shop has given me 4 different profiles that I can test out. So I'm going to take them out on the ice, I'm going to skate on one, swap it out, skate on the other. I'll even do a side-by-side with a different profile in each skate and see how much you can really tell the difference. If you want to see that video, hit the subscribe button. I make new hockey videos every single week. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.